We've all heard it, haven't we? That constant drumbeat of health advice telling us what to do. Walk more. Eat this, not that. Get more sleep. And at the center of it all is that one giant, intimidating number: 10,000. 10,000 steps a day. It feels like a mountain to climb. And if we're being honest with ourselves, most days it feels completely out of reach. But what if I told you that the entire 10,000 step goal wasn't born from some profound medical study, but from a clever marketing campaign in the 1960s to sell a Japanese pedometer? And what if I told you that the single most critical habit for maintaining your strength, your balance, and your precious independence as you age isn't about climbing a mountain at all? It's about taking one small intentional step, say just 5 minutes a day. If you've ever looked at a long flight of stairs and felt a flicker of hesitation, or worried about keeping up with your grandkids in the park, or simply felt that your world was getting a little smaller because of concerns about stiffness or stability, then this conversation is for you. We're not going to talk about punishing workouts or impossible goals. We're going to talk about a simple, powerful 5-minute habit that can act as your personal key to staying independent and living the life you want on your own terms. Hello, and thank you for joining me today. I want to be very clear about our goal here. This isn't about fear-mongering or listing all the things that can go wrong as we get older. You're smart, you're savvy, and you don't need to be talked down to. My goal today is to have an honest, practical conversation that respects your intelligence and acknowledges your real-world concerns. We're going to build a case, piece by piece, for a small change that can lead to profound results. We're talking about the freedom to continue gardening, to live in your own home, to go to the grocery store with confidence, and to say yes to life's invitations without a second thought about your physical ability. To do that, we're going to lean on solid research from trusted institutions like Johns Hopkins Medicine, the National Institute on Aging, and the Mayo Clinic. We'll start by completely dismantling that old 10,000-step myth and replacing it with a manageable, scientifically backed 5-minute win. Then, we'll explore how to make those 5 minutes incredibly effective, focusing on the quality of your movement, not just the quantity. After that, and this is crucial, we'll go beyond the walk itself. We'll introduce 2 foundational exercises you can do right in your own home to directly build the strength and balance that are so vital for fall prevention. And finally, we'll talk about the most important part: how to turn this from a good idea into an unbreakable daily habit, even on days when you're dealing with pain or a lack of motivation. This is a journey of empowerment, and it starts right now. And a quick but important reminder: I am not a doctor, and this video is for informational purposes only. The goal is to share valuable health knowledge and empower you to have more informed conversations with your own trusted healthcare providers. Please always consult your doctor before beginning any new exercise program, especially if you have pre-existing health conditions. Let's begin with the most important word of all: independence. When we talk about senior fitness, the conversation often gets framed around avoiding negative outcomes, avoiding a fall, avoiding disease, avoiding weakness. And while those things are important, they miss the entire point. The real reason to stay active, the true motivation, isn't about what you're running away from. It's about what you are preserving and moving toward. It's about the positive. It's the joy of being able to get down on the floor to play with a grandchild and knowing with full confidence that you can get back up again. It's the simple pleasure of carrying your own groceries in from the car or reaching for a pot on a high shelf without asking for help. A friend of mine, a wonderful woman named Eleanor, once told me that her barometer for independence was her garden. For her, the ability to kneel down to pull weeds, to carry a watering can, and to spend an afternoon in the sun with her hands in the dirt was the very definition of a good life. When she started to feel stiff and unsteady, her first fear wasn't about a catastrophic fall. It was the heartbreaking thought of having to give up her garden. That's the real why. It's not an abstract health metric. It's your garden, your hobbies, your ability to live your life with a sense of freedom and capability. So as we move through this discussion, I want you to hold on to your personal why. What does independence look like for you? Because this 5-minute habit isn't just an exercise, it's a tool to protect that vision. As the National Council on Aging often emphasizes, focusing on what you gain from exercise, more energy, more freedom, more time enjoying your passions, is the most powerful motivator there is. With that powerful why in mind, let's tackle the biggest barrier that stands in the way for so many of us. The feeling that we have to do it all, or it's not worth doing anything. This brings us directly to that infamous 10,000-step goal. It's completely understandable to feel intimidated by it. It sounds so official, so scientific. But the truth, as we touched on earlier, is that it originated in the 1960s as a brand name for a Japanese pedometer called a manpo-kei, which translates to 10,000 steps meter. It was marketing, not medicine. Now, that's not to say walking a lot is bad. It's fantastic. But clinging to that specific number as a pass-fail test for your health can be incredibly demoralizing. The truth is much more encouraging. Research has shown that the benefits start accumulating far, far sooner. For instance, a major study published in the JAMA Network found that for older adults, taking as few as 7,000 steps a day was associated with a significantly lower risk of premature death. The benefits leveled off after that point, meaning the jump from 7,000 to 10,000 didn't show a major additional advantage in that specific outcome. This is wonderful news. It frees us from the tyranny of an arbitrary number and allows us to focus on what's achievable. This is where our 5-minute habit comes in as the perfect starting point, our 5-minute win. A recent study highlighted in publications like Women's Health took a fascinating look at the immediate effects of short bursts of exercise on the brain. Researchers found that just 5 minutes of moderate intensity walking led to measurable improvements in cognitive function in older adults. Think about that. Not a grueling hour-long session, 5 minutes. Enough time to walk to the end of your block and back. This isn't just about your muscles. It's a direct boost for your brain. It's a way of clearing the cobwebs and sharpening your focus. Viewing it as a 5-minute win completely reframes the task. It's not a failure to meet 10,000 steps. It's a successful investment of 5 minutes in your own well-being. And on those days when you feel great, that 5-minute win might just stretch into 10 or 15. But the goal, the daily victory, is just 5 minutes. It's a powerful, psychologically kind way to begin building momentum. So we've established our goal is a 5-minute walk. Now, how do we make those 5 minutes as beneficial as possible? The real magic isn't just in the act of walking, but in the how of walking. We can transform a simple stroll into a powerful tool for better posture, balance, and energy. Let's break down the key components of a higher quality walk. First, let's talk about posture. So many of us, especially if we're dealing with stiffness or looking down to watch our feet, tend to walk in a slightly hunched position. We're going to counteract that. Before you take your first step, I want you to imagine a string is attached to the very top of your head, gently pulling you upward toward the sky. Feel your spine lengthen. Let your shoulders relax down and back, away from your ears. Your chin should be parallel to the ground. This walking tall posture does more than just make you look more confident. It opens up your chest for deeper breathing, engages your core muscles for better stability, and reduces strain on your neck and back. The second component is your gaze. It's a natural instinct, especially if you're worried about tripping, to stare down at your feet. But this actually works against your balance. Your body's balance system relies on information from your eyes, your inner ears, and the nerves in your body. When you look down, you're cutting off a major source of that information, your peripheral vision and your sense of the horizon. Instead, try to keep your gaze focused about 10 to 20 feet ahead of you. This allows you to see any upcoming obstacles, like a crack in the sidewalk or an uneven patch of grass, well in advance, while still giving your brain the visual information it needs to keep you stable. It takes a little practice to trust your feet without watching them, but it's a crucial shift for improving your natural balance. And finally, let's talk about your arms. It's easy to let them hang limply or to tuck them into your pockets, but your arm swing is an engine for your walk. Bend your elbows at a roughly 90-degree angle and let your arms swing naturally from your shoulders, not your elbows. They should move in opposition to your legs. As your right foot steps forward, your left arm swings forward, and vice versa. This isn't about aggressively pumping your arms like a race walker. It's about creating a gentle, rhythmic momentum that helps propel you forward and, importantly, acts as a counterbalance to the movement of your legs, further enhancing your stability. As a final piece of this quality walk, consider brief intervals of a slightly brisker pace. You don't need to be out of breath. A good guide, recommended by the CDC, is the talk test. During a moderately intense or brisk walk, you should still be able to talk, but you shouldn't be able to sing a song. Try walking at your normal pace for a minute, and then for the next minute, pick it up just a bit, focusing on that purposeful stride and arm swing. Then slow back down. These small bursts of increased effort are fantastic for your cardiovascular health and make your 5 minutes work even harder for you. Okay, let's just take a quick pause here and catch our breath. We are covering some really important ground. We've established that the ultimate goal is protecting your independence, your garden, your hobbies, your freedom. We've busted the myth of the 10,000-step mountain and replaced it with the empowering, science-backed 5-minute win. And we've just detailed how to transform that 5-minute walk into a high-quality movement practice by focusing on posture, gaze, and arm swing. You're already armed with more practical knowledge than most people get in a lifetime of casual walking. If you're finding this guide helpful and this respectful, in-depth approach is resonating with you, I would be so grateful if you took just a single second to tap that like button below this video. It truly helps our channel reach and support more people just like you. Thank you for that. Now, let's get into what might be the most critical piece of this entire puzzle. A good walk is foundational, but to truly safeguard our independence and directly address that deep-seated fear of falling, we need to add another layer to our routine. This is the insurance policy for our mobility. We need to build strength and balance. The fear of falling is completely valid. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, or CDC, reports that falls are the leading cause of injury for older adults. But here is a crucial piece of information. The fear itself can become a self-fulfilling prophecy. When we're afraid of falling, we tend to move less. When we move less, our muscles get weaker and our balance deteriorates, which in turn actually increases our risk of falling. It's a vicious cycle. But the empowering news: supported by mountains of research from places like Johns Hopkins, is that we can break that cycle with simple, targeted exercises. You don't need a gym membership or fancy equipment. You just need your own body weight and a sturdy piece of furniture. We're going to focus on two of the most effective exercises you can do. The first, and in my opinion, the single most important exercise for maintaining independence, is the chair squat. Think about how many times a day you go from sitting to standing, getting out of a dining chair, off the sofa, out of your car, and yes, up from the toilet. All of these movements require strength in your legs and glutes. The chair squat directly trains this exact movement pattern. It's easy to think, I can get out of a chair just fine, I don't need this. But the loss of this specific strength can be so gradual, so insidious, that we often don't notice it's happening until one day we find ourselves pushing off with our hands or needing a little rock to get going. Practicing chair squats is how we get ahead of that curve. Here's how you do it safely. Stand in front of a sturdy, stable chair, one without wheels. Your feet should be about shoulder width apart. With your chest up and your core engaged, slowly bend your knees and hips as if you are about to sit down, lowering your body until you just barely tap the chair. Then, without fully sitting or resting, push through your heels to stand back up to the starting position. The key is control. Go slowly on the way down and be powerful on the way up. Start with just 5 repetitions. If that feels good, work your way up to 10 or 12. This one exercise is a direct investment in your long-term freedom. Now that we've addressed the strength component, we need to directly train our balance. This leads us to our second essential move, the single leg stand. Life is full of wobbly moments. Stepping off a curb, catching your toe on a rug, or getting jostled in a crowd. The single leg stand is how we practice for those moments in a safe, controlled environment. Think of it as a fire drill for your balance system. To do this, stand next to a sturdy kitchen counter or the back of a heavy chair, something you can hold onto for support. Place your feet together. Now, gently place your hands on the counter for stability and slowly lift one foot off the floor. It doesn't have to be high. Just an inch or two is fine. Try to hold this position for 10 seconds. Your goal is to rely less and less on your hands over time. Maybe you start with all 10 fingers on the counter. Then you try just a few fingertips. Then maybe just one. The wobble you feel is actually a good thing. That's your brain, nerves, and muscles all communicating and working together to keep you upright. It's your balance system getting a workout. After 10 seconds, lower your foot and then switch to the other side. As you get more confident, you can aim for 20 or even 30 seconds per leg. Adding these two simple exercises, the chair squats and the single leg stands, into your day, perhaps right after your 5-minute walk, creates a comprehensive little routine that directly tackles the physical declines that lead to a loss of independence. Of course, knowing what to do is only half the battle. The other half, and often the harder half, is actually doing it consistently. This is where we talk about the art of habit formation. The most successful approach isn't about finding a sudden burst of intense motivation. It's about building a system that makes showing up easy. The golden rule here is consistency over intensity. A 5-minute walk every single day is infinitely more powerful than a heroic 1-hour walk you only manage to do once a month. Daily movement sends a constant signal to your body and brain that says, we are strong, we are capable, we are in use. So how do we build that consistency? The most effective strategy is called habit stacking. This means you link your new desired habit, the 5-minute walk, to an existing, already established habit that you do every day without fail. For example, your existing habit might be finishing your morning cup of coffee or tea. The new rule becomes, the moment I put my coffee cup in the sink, I put on my walking shoes and go out the door. There's no decision to be made. The cue is the coffee cup. The routine is the walk. Other great stacking opportunities are right after you brush your teeth, right after you get the mail, or right before you sit down to read the newspaper. Another powerful tool for making a habit stick is to track your progress. Don't underestimate the simple satisfaction of putting a big red X on a calendar for every day you complete your walk. This creates a visual chain of success. As that chain gets longer, you'll be more motivated to not break it. This taps into that power of I can mindset that researchers have found is so critical for senior exercise motivation. You aren't focusing on a day you missed. You're celebrating the streak you've built. It shifts the focus from perfection to progress. And remember, the goal isn't to be perfect. The goal is to be consistent. If you miss a day, you don't throw your hands up and quit. You simply start a new chain the next day. This approach is about building self-trust and proving to yourself, 1 5-minute walk at a time, that you are someone who follows through on their commitments to their own health. Even with the best strategies, life happens. There will be days when you wake up and your joints are aching. There will be days when the weather is miserable. And there will be days when your motivation is simply nowhere to be found. It is absolutely critical that we acknowledge and plan for these moments. This is not a failure. It's just part of being human. Let's talk about pain first. The old saying, no pain, no gain, is not only wrong, but it's also potentially dangerous, especially for older adults. Your body communicates with you, and pain is one of its most important words. We have to learn to listen to it, not shout over it. On a day when your arthritis is acting up or your back feels stiff, pushing through a brisk walk might do more harm than good. But that doesn't mean the day is a loss. The goal on these days is gentle movement. Maybe your 5-minute habit becomes 5 minutes of gentle seated stretches. Maybe it's walking slowly around your living room. The key is to honor what your body is telling you and modify your activity. The principle remains: a little bit of movement is always better than no movement at all. It keeps the joints lubricated and the muscles activated without causing a flare-up. Now, let's address motivation. It's a fickle friend. Some days it's there, and some days it's not. On the days it's missing, don't wait for it to show up. Instead, rely on your habit. Use a little trick called the 2-minute rule. Tell yourself you don't have to do the full 5-minute walk. You just have to put on your shoes and walk for 2 minutes. That's it. Anyone can do 2 minutes. What you'll often find is that once you're out the door and moving, the hardest part is over, and you'll happily finish the full 5 minutes. And if you don't, that's okay too. You still moved for 2 minutes, and you kept your habit alive. Another incredibly powerful source of motivation, as highlighted by health organizations worldwide, is social connection. Can you schedule your walk with a spouse, a neighbor, or a friend? This turns the walk from a chore into a social event. It also adds a layer of accountability. You're much less likely to skip it if you know someone is waiting for you. If walking with someone isn't an option, try calling a friend or family member on the phone during your walk. The conversation will make the time fly by, and you'll be nurturing your social health at the same time as your physical health. As we bring our conversation to a close, I want to frame everything we've discussed in its proper context. This 5-minute habit, these simple strength exercises, this focus on consistency, this is not the final destination. This is the starting line. It is the solid, sustainable foundation upon which you can build a more active, vibrant, and independent future. It's the first domino. The goal isn't just to walk for 5 minutes for the rest of your life. The goal is to use this manageable starting point to build momentum and confidence. What you will likely find is that after a few weeks, 5 minutes feels easy. It becomes a non-negotiable part of your day. And then, naturally, you might decide to go for 7 minutes or 10. You'll notice that the chair squats get a little easier, so you do a few more repetitions. You'll hold your balance for a few seconds longer on the single leg stand. You won't be forcing it. It will be a natural progression, born from your own growing strength and self-assurance. This entire approach is designed to put you back in the driver's seat. It's about taking a small, achievable step that empowers you, that proves to you that it's never too late to make a positive change. As a study from Johns Hopkins powerfully demonstrated, even starting an exercise routine later in life can yield significant improvements in health and reduce the risk of chronic diseases. You have the power to change your trajectory, starting today. So let's quickly recap the powerful wins you've gained today. First, you've been freed from the intimidating myth of the 10,000-step rule and armed with the knowledge that much smaller, consistent efforts deliver incredible benefits. Second, you now have the 5-minute win, a simple, science-backed starting point that boosts both your body and your brain. Third, you know how to make every step count by focusing on a quality walk with good posture and a purposeful stride. Fourth, you have two of the most effective exercises in your toolkit, the chair squat and the single leg stand, to directly build the strength and balance that safeguard your independence. And finally, you have a practical, psychological toolkit for turning this into a real, lasting habit, even when faced with pain or low motivation. This isn't just information. This is a plan for a stronger, more confident, and more independent you. You are in control of this journey. Now, I would love to hear from you. Which of the ideas we discussed today was the biggest aha moment for you? Was it debunking the 10,000-step myth? The idea of the 5-minute win? Or perhaps one of the simple exercises? Please take a moment to share your thoughts in the comments section below. Reading your experiences and insights is not only encouraging for me, but it creates a wonderful community of support for everyone watching. And if you found this in-depth, respectful approach to health and wellness valuable, please be sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the little notification bell. We have many more conversations like this one planned to help you live your healthiest, most empowered life. Thank you so much for spending this time with me today. Be well, stay empowered, and I'll see you in the next video.